You start a sentence, then you stop, like something's caught before it drops. A word that almost made it through, but stayed somewhere inside of you. I lean in just a little more to catch the part you held before, but all I get is half a sign, a broken piece between the lines. It goes then breaks, every move that you make, not clear, not straight, always just a second late. Call it distance, call it game, something never stays the same, but every time you stop like that, it pulls me deeper into that. We walk, then pause, then walk again, a rhythm I can't understand, not something I can fully read, but something I still seem to need. You look away before I see exactly what you meant to be, and every time I think I know, you stop, then suddenly you go. I try to match the way you move, but I can follow what you do. It's never where I think it lands, it slips right through my open hands. And maybe that's the way you are, not fully close, not fully far, a kind of in between that stays just out of reach in subtle ways. It goes, then breaks, every move that you make, not clear, not straight, always just a second late. Call it timing, call it flow, something I don't need to know, but every time you stop midline, I feel it more than if you try. The silence hits, then disappears, a space that's louder than it seems, not empty, not completely still, but something bending to your will. You say my name, then lose the sound, it almost forms and drops back down, and in that moment I can tell there's something more you didn't spell. But I don't push, I don't insist, I let it live inside the shift between the start and where it ends, a place that never fully bends. It's not the words, it's not the pace, it's in the gaps you leave in place, a rhythm built on what you hide that slowly pulls me to your side. It goes, then breaks, every move that you make, not clear, not straight, always just a second late. Call it pattern, call it chance, something caught in circumstance, but every time you pause like this, it feels like something I can't miss. We stop again, then move apart, a quiet echo in my heart, not loud enough to fully stay, but never fully fades away. And maybe that's what keeps it real, not what we say, but what we feel. In almost every pause, a hidden, undefined cause. So I don't try to smooth the line or force it into something fine. I let it move the way it must, this broken, shifting sense of us. And if it never fully flows or finds a place it clearly goes, it still exists in how it feels, a rhythm nothing else reveals. It goes, then breaks, every move that you make, not clear, not straight, always just a second late. And in the stop and go I see, it's not just you, it's part of me. The way I wait, the way I lean into the space you leave unseen, a pattern I can't quite repeat, but something I can't help but keep, a broken line I can't undo that always leads me back to you. You didn't say it all too loud, but I could hear it through the crowd, a softer tone beneath the words that somehow felt a little blurred. Not something I could point out clear, not something anyone could hear, but something in the way it stayed, turned quiet into something said. I didn't ask you what you meant, I didn't need the evidence. It lived somewhere beneath the sound, a kind of truth that stayed unwound. Low voice, slow line, something moving out of time. No force, no push, just a quiet kind of hush. Call it subtle, call it real, something I don't need to feel, but every time you speak that way, it makes me wanna stay. We sit across from one another, like nothing really needs to cover the space between what we both know and what we choose not to show. You look at me, then look away, like you don't wanna fully say the thing that's sitting on your mind, but still you leave a trace behind. And I don't try to make it loud or pull it out from where it's found. It feels enough to let it live in all the things we never give. It's not the words, it's not the sound, it's in the way it settles down. A quieter version of the truth that doesn't need to be produced. Low voice, slow line, something moving out of time. No force, no push, just a quiet kind of hush. Call it distance, call it near, something always living here. But every time you lower tone, it feels like something I've been shown. The room is full, but still it feels like something only we can feel. A private kind of atmosphere that doesn't need to disappear. You say it like it doesn't matter, like it won't echo after, but I can feel it in the air, a kind of weight you didn't share. And maybe that's what makes it stay. Not what you shout, but what you say. When you don't try to make it land, but let it fall just where I stand. I hear it clearer when it's low, when it's the things you don't quite show. A hidden line beneath the tone that somehow feels more like your own. Low voice, slow line, something moving out of time. No force, no push, just a quiet kind of hush. Call it instinct, call it truth, something barely breaking through. But every time you let it slip, it settles deeper in my grip. I try to speak the same way too, to leave a trace instead of proof. But I don't know if you can tell the way it lingers where it fell. Not loud enough to take control, but strong enough to shape the whole. A quieter kind of honesty that lives inside the in-between. And I don't wanna raise the sound or turn it into something found. It feels better when it stays a softer part of passing days. The music fades, the room gets still, but something lingers with me still. A quiet tone I can't replace, that somehow stays without a trace. Low voice, slow line, something moving out of time. No force, no push, just a quiet kind of hush. And in the silence I can see it's not just you, it's part of me. The way I listen, the way I hear, the things that never fully appear. A quiet truth I can't undo, that always seems to lead to you. Not spoken loud, not fully shown, but something I can call my own. We turn the corner, different street. The rhythm changes in our feet. No map, no plan, no place to be. Just something pulling you and me. The sound is louder than before, but not the kind you can't ignore. It's in the way the ground reacts to every step, to every act. You laugh and move without a cue, like you don't care what people do. And somehow I just follow through. A different pace I feel from you. You bounce left, step right, keep it moving through the night. No stop, no wait, let it fall into the break. Call it rhythm, call it chance, something pulling us to dance. But every time I lose the line, you bring it back in perfect time. We don't speak, we don't explain, just moving through a different lane. The beat drops and then drops again, a loop that never seems to end. Your shadow shifts across the light, a silhouette and moving wide, and everything begins to blur, but still I keep my eyes on her. The sound cuts out then builds again, a pattern I don't understand, but still I move, I let it go into a place I didn't know. And maybe that's what makes us stay, not trying to control the way it moves or breaks or comes apart, but letting it reset and start. Bounce left, step right, keep it moving through the night. No stop, no wait, let it fall into the break. Call it motion, call it flow, something only we would know. But every time I miss the beat, you pull me back into the street. The music stops, but we don't freeze. We keep the rhythm in our knees. A quieter version of the sound, still echoing without the crowd. You say my name, but not too loud. It disappears into the crowd, but still till I catch it in the air. Signal that you're still right there. We spin around and lose the line. Then find another way to align. Not perfect, not the same as before. There's something I can't ignore. The tempo shifts, it speeds, it breaks. A different pattern that it takes. And somehow we just fit inside without needing a place to hide. Bounce left, step right, keep it moving through the night. No stop, no wait, let it fall into the break. Call it instinct, call it play. Something we don't need to say, but every time I feel it drop, I don't want it to ever stop. The night keeps going, time dissolves. No clear beginning or resolve. There's moments stacked without a name that never really feel the same. And maybe that's the way it grows. Not in the things that we suppose, but in the way we lose control and let the rhythm take a hold. So I don't try to slow it down or figure out where we are now. I let it move, I let it lead into the space we didn't need. Bounce left, step right, keep it moving through the night. No stop, no wait, let it fall into the break. And in this rhythm I can tell there's something I know far too well. Not something I can hold or prove, but something I can only move. With every step, with every sound, it keeps me slightly off the ground. The tempo I can't walk away, that pulls me deeper into play. You read my message, I can tell. The silence fits a little too well. Not long enough to call it late, but just enough to make me wait. I check the time, then check again, like something's moving underneath the quiet pause. I can't explain between the lines, you didn't leave. It's not a yes, it's not a no, just something I don't fully know. A space that lingers in between what could be said and what you mean. Hold back, don't send, let the seconds stretch again. Not wrong, not right, just suspended in the night. Call it timing, call it play. Something drifting out of place, but every time you don't reply, it pulls me deeper into why I start to trace the words we had, the ones you sent, the ones I read, looking for a hidden sign that maybe I just missed in time. But nothing stands, nothing breaks, just a rhythm that it takes. A step ahead, a step behind, a pattern I can't redefine. And I don't wanna push too far or turn it into what you are. I let it stay the way it feels, the kind of tension that reveals more than answers ever could, more than clarity or good. It's in the waiting, in the space that something starts to take its place. Hold back, don't send, let the seconds stretch again. Not wrong, not right, just suspended in the night. Call it this distance, call it near, something always lingering here. But every time I feel the delay, it makes me wanna stay. The screen lights up, then fades away. A flicker I can't quite replay. I thought I felt it change just now, but maybe I imagine now. You type and stop and type again. I see it, then it disappears. A conversation never said still echoes louder in my head. And maybe that's what makes it real. Not what we show, but what we feel. And all the things we almost say but choose to slowly push away. It's not the message, not the line, it's in the gap between the time where something builds without a sound and turns the silence into ground. Hold back, don't send, let the seconds stretch again. Not wrong, not right, just suspended in the night. Call it instinct, call like something's going on. I try to move, to look away, to let it drift into the day, but still it finds a way to stay. A quiet loop I can't delay, and I don't know what comes next, if you'll respond or just reset. But in this moment, in this state, it feels like more than just a wait. The beat of time, the pulse of thought, the things we lose, the things we caught, all living in this in-between, a place that never stays too clean. So I don't rush to fill the line, or force a word or set a sign. I let it breathe, I let it be, this quiet form of you and me. Hold back, don't send, let the seconds stretch again. Not wrong, not right, just suspend it in the night. And in the space I start to see, it's not just you, it's part of me. The way I wait, the way I feel, the things I don't want to reveal. A rhythm built on what we miss, a silence shaped into a kiss that never lands but still remains somewhere between the time and names. I try to play it back again, the way it happened, where it ends, but something in the frame is off, like time has been cut in half. The words we said don't sound the same, the tone, the pause, the way you came closer for a second there, now feels like something wasn't fair. I rewind it in my mind, but every time I press rewind, it shifts a little more each time, a softer blur, a different line. Backwards, slow, everything I used to know feels close and far, like I don't know where you are. Call it memory, call it dream, something not the way it seemed, but every time I turn it through, it bends a little back to you. We were standing in that place, same expression, same old face, but now it looks like something new, like I'm seeing less of you, or maybe more than what was real, a version shaped by how I feel, not what you said, not what was done, but something that I've become. I try to hear the way you spoke, but it comes out like a broken note, not wrong, not right, just rearranged, like something subtly exchanged. And maybe that's what time can do, it doesn't keep the truth for you, it lets it move, it lets it shift into something slightly different. Backwards, slow, everything I used to know feels close and far, like I don't know where you are. Call it echo, call it trace, something I can't quite replace, but every time I drift away, it brings me back in reverse play. I see the moment, but it's blurred, like something I half overheard, a fragment lost inside the sound that never fully touches ground. You turn your head, but not the same, a second off a different frame, and I can't tell if that was real or just the way I choose to feel. The night was quiet, I remember, but now it feels like late September, even though it wasn't then. Time just rewrites where it bends, and I don't know what I should trust, the way it was or what it was, becoming slowly in my head, a different kind of what you said. Backwards, slow, everything I used to know feels close and far, like I don't know where you are. Call it instinct, call it mind, something always left behind, but every time I try to stay, it slips and plays another way. The sound begins to fade again, the moment folds and folds again, and in that space I start to see, it's not just you, it's part of me. The way I change what I recall, the way I soften every fall, the way I turn the sharpest line into something more like mine. And maybe that's the way it stays, not frozen in to fix the frame or bring it back to how it came. I'll let it move, I'll let it go. This reversed version that I know. What's slow? Everything I used to know feels close and far, but I still know where you are. And even if it's not exact, even if it shifts the fact, there's something in it I can keep. A quiet version running deep, a scene that never plays the same, but somehow always ends your name. You start a sentence, then you stop, like something's caught before it drops. A word that almost made it through, but stayed somewhere inside of you. I lean in just a little more to catch the part you held before, but all I get is half a sign, a broken piece between the lines. It goes then breaks, every move that you make, not clear, not straight, always just a second late. Call it distance, call it game, something never stays the same, but every time you stop like that, it pulls me deeper into that. We walk, then pause, then walk again, a rhythm I can't understand, not something I can fully read, but something I still seem to need. You look away before I see exactly what you meant to be, and every time I think I know, you stop, then suddenly you go. I try to match the way you move, but I can follow what you do. It's never where I think it lands, it slips right through my open hands. And maybe that's the way you are, not fully close, not fully far, a kind of in between that stays just out of reach in subtle ways. It goes, then breaks, every move that you make, not clear, not straight, always just a second late. Call it timing, call it flow, something I don't need to know, but every time you stop mid-line, I feel it more than if you try. The silence hits, then disappears, a space that's louder than it seems, not empty, not completely still, but something bending to your will. You say my name, then lose the sound, it almost forms and drops back down, and in that moment I can tell there's something more you didn't spell. But I don't push, I don't insist, I let it live inside the shift between the start and where it ends, a place that never fully bends. It's not the words, it's not the pace, it's in the gaps you leave in place, a rhythm built on what you hide that slowly pulls me to your side. It goes, then breaks, every move that you make, not clear, not straight, always just a second late. Call it pattern, call it chance, something caught in circumstance, but every time you pause like this, it feels like something I can't miss. We stop again, then move apart, a quiet echo in my heart, not loud enough to fully stay, but never fully fades away. And maybe that's what keeps it real, not what we say, but what we feel. In almost every pause, a hidden, undefined cause. So I don't try to smooth the line or force it into something fine. I let it move the way it must, this broken, shifting sense of us. And if it never fully flows or finds a place it clearly goes, it still exists in how it feels, a rhythm nothing else reveals. It goes, then breaks, like every move that you make, not clear, not straight, always just a second late. And in the stop and go I see, it's not just you, it's part of me. The way I wait, the way I lean into the space you leave unseen, a pattern I can't quite repeat, but something I can't help but keep, a broken line I can't undo that always leads me back to you. We start start off talking like it's light, just passing words, just passing time. Nothing too deep, nothing too close, just something easy, almost known. Then something shifts without a sign. The pace slows down, you cross the line. Not fully there, not fully said, but something lingers in your head. I feel it change between the lines, a slower pull, a softer time. Like everything we had before is moving into something more. Fast-paced, slow down, something turning all around. Halfway, not through, but I can feel it changing you. Call it moment, call it phase, something slipping into place. But every time the rhythm bends, it feels like something new begins. We walk, then stop, then move again. The space between is different then. Not empty, not too hard to hold, but something warmer than the cold. You say my name a different way, like something's trying not to stay. Too obvious, too clearly shown, but still it feels a little known. And I don't wanna rush it now, or turn it into this is how. It feels better in between, not too loud, not too unseen. The rhythm picks back up again. We fall into the same old trend, but something underneath the sound keeps pulling slightly underground. Fast-paced, slow down, something turning all around. Halfway, not through, but I can feel it changing you. Call it near, something always living here. But every time we slow it down, it feels more real than what we found. The music drops, the space gets wide. We sit inside the softer side, where everything feels stretched and still, and nothing's forced against the will. You look at me and don't explain the shift, the pause, the quiet strain, but I can feel it in your breath, a different rhythm underneath. Not everything needs to be clear, not everything needs to appear. Sometimes it lives inside the slow, a deeper place we barely show. And maybe that's what makes it stay, not what we rush but what we delay. A halfway feeling not complete, but something I don't wanna leave. Fast-paced, slow down, something turning all around. Halfway, not through, but I can feel it changing you. Call it instinct, call it flow, something we don't need to know. But every time we switch the pace, it feels like we're in the same place. We come back up, the rhythm hits the faster side, we always fit. But something's different now inside, a slower echo we can't hide. And I don't try to fix the line, I'll make it fall in perfect time. I let it move the way it must, this shifting, changing sense of us. So if it stays halfway like this, not fully there, not fully missed, it's still enough for me to see something real between you and me. Fast-paced, slow down, something turning all around. Halfway, not through, but I can feel it changing you. And in this rhythm I can tell there's something I know far too well. Not something I can fully prove, but something I can always move. Between the fast and in the slow, that's where I feel it start to grow. The halfway place I can't undo, that always leads me back to you. It's not the words you choose to say, it's something deeper in the way they fall beneath the surface tone, a place that feels like it's my own. I hear it when the room is still, a quiet hum I can't ignore. Not loud enough to break the air, but stronger than it was before. It moves beneath what we both show, a hidden line we never know, until it starts to pull me in, like something just beneath the skin. echo deep within. We talk like nothing's really there, like everything is light and clear, but I can feel it in the space. A lower tone I can't replace. You look at me but don't stay long, like something might go slightly wrong if you let it linger more than what we're keeping it for. And I don't try to bring it up or turn it into something else. It feels enough to let it stay beneath the things we choose to say. There's something in the way it grows, without direction, without pose. A steady pull I can't deny, that lives beneath the passing by. Low wave, deep line, something moving out of time. No sound, no name, but it always feels the same. Call it instinct, call it flow, something we don't need to show, but every time I feel that pull, it makes the quiet feel more full. The night gets softer as we go, the lights reflect the lower glow, and everything begins to slow, but still I feel it underneath. Not rising up, not breaking through, just something always tied to you. A deeper layer of the sound that never needs to turn around. You say goodbye but not too clear, like something's left behind in here. And I can feel it in my chest, a lower beat than all the rest. And maybe that's what makes it stay, not what we get but what we weigh. Inside the space we never show, a frequency that runs below. Low wave, deep line, something moving out of time. No sound, no name, but it always feels the same. Call it distance, call it near, something always living here, but every time I let it play, it pulls me deeper into place. I try to rise above the tone, to bring it back to what is known, but something keeps me just beneath, a softer kind of underneath. And I don't know that being there, a hidden layer in the air, not something I can fully prove, but something I can always move. With every step, with every breath, it stays a little past the rest. A quiet weight I can't undo, that always ties me back to you. Low wave, deep line, something moving out of time. No sound, no name, but it always feels the same. And in the silence I can see, it's not just you, it's part of me. A deeper rhythm I can't lose, that always leads me back to you. It's not the things you say out loud, it's something hidden in the crowd. A softer voice I barely catch, but somehow feel in every match. Between the words behind the tone, there's something quietly your own. A second layer I can hear, that never fully disappears. It follows every line you make, a shadow sound I can't mistake. Not leading out in front of you, but always somewhere close to you. Low voice behind, something playing in my mind. Not clear, not strong, but it's been there all along. Call it echo, call it trace, something I can't quite replace. But every time I hear you speak, it's in the parts you never reach. We talk about the usual things, the kind of day, the kind it brings. Nothing too deep, nothing too new, but still I feel that hidden cue. It's in the way you hesitate before you let the silence break. A quiet hum beneath the line that doesn't need to be defined. And I don't try to pull it out or turn it into something loud. It feels enough to let it stay, a background tone that doesn't fade. It moves beneath what we both know, subtle rhythm running low, not something I could fully trace. but something always in its place. Low voice behind something playing in my mind. Not clear, not strong, but it's been there all along. Call it instinct, call it flow, something we don't need to show, but every time you turn away, it lingers just enough to stay. I start to notice little shifts, the way your voice slightly drips when you say something casually, but mean it just a bit differently. It's not a lie, it's not a mask, just something softer in the past, of every word you choose to give, a second layer that still lives. And maybe that's what makes it real, not what we show but what we feel, and all the parts that stay unseen, a quiet space in between. You laugh, it fades and comes again, a softer tone beneath the end, and I can feel it in the sound, a kind of truth that's not yet found. Low voice behind something playing in my mind. Not clear, not strong, but it's been there all along. Call it pattern, call it sign, something slightly out of line, but every time I hear it move, it pulls me closer into you. The music fades, the voices stay, the surface slowly drifts away, and all that's left is something low, a tone that only I would know. Not something I can hold or prove, but something I can always move. With every breath, with every sound, it stays just slightly underground. So I don't try to bring it near or make it suddenly appear. I let it live the way it does, this quiet, hidden sense of us. And if it never comes out clear, it doesn't mean it's not still here. Cause every time I hear your tone, I know I'm never quite alone. Low voice behind something playing in my mind. Not clear, not strong, but it's been there all along. And in this echo I can see, it's not just you, it's part of me, a quiet sound I can't remove, that always leads me back to you. We started like it always does, a steady rhythm, something us, every part in place aligned, no missing pieces left behind. You said it like you meant to stay, like nothing ever slips away, and I believed it in that tone, a certainty I thought I'd known. But something slowly starts to change, not all at once, not something strange, just little shifts I can't ignore, a softer version of before. Less sound, less light, something fading out of sight, still there, still near, but it doesn't feel as clear. Call it distance, call it drift, something slowly starts to shift, but every time I try to hold, it feels a little less controlled. We talk, but not the way we did. The silence now feels more than it used to be, when we would stay inside the things we didn't say. You look at me but not too long, like something slightly moving wrong. Not broken, not completely gone, but not as strong as it was on. And I don't try to fix the line or force it back into design. It feels like something meant to fade, not lost, just quietly delayed. The rhythm drops, a piece is gone, the beat still moves but not as strong, and I can feel it in my chest, a slower pulse beneath the rest. Less sound, less light, something fading out of sight, still there, still near, but it doesn't feel as clear. Call it ending, call it pause, something slipping without cause, but every time I feel it go, it leaves a trace I still can't know. We used to fill up every space, now is a kinda empty place. Not cold, not hard to bear, but something that is simply there. And maybe that's what endings are. Not something loud or torn apart, but something that just slowly leaves without demanding we believe. You say goodbye but not complete, like something left beneath your speech. A final line that doesn't land, but still I somehow understand. Not everything needs to be said, not every word needs to be read. Sometimes it lives inside the fade. A quiet ending never made less sound, less light, something fading out of sight. Still there, still near, but it doesn't feel as clear. Call it memory, call it trace, something time cannot replace. But every time I let it go, it stays a little more below. The music fades, but not to none. A softer echo still goes on, and in that space I start to see it's not just you, it's part of me. The way I hold, the way I lose, the way I never fully choose to let it end or let it stay, but keep it somewhere in between. And maybe that's the final state, not fully gone, not here to wait, but something resting out of view. A quiet space I shared with you. So I don't try to bring it back or follow down the missing track. I let it be the way it ends, unfinished, like it still depends. Less sound, less light, something fading out of sight. Still there, still near, but it doesn't feel as clear. And in this ending I can tell there's something I still know too well. Not something I can fully prove, but something I can never remove. A quiet trace, a fading line that lives just slightly out of time. An ending that I never knew would always feel like part of you. The light comes in without a sound. It fills the space and moves around. No need to ask, no need to wait. It's just there when I awake. A different kind of feeling now, not something I can question how. It settles softly in my chest, a quiet sense I know too well. I don't look back, I don't rewind. The past feels further from my mind. Not gone, not lost, just less defined. A softer edge to what was mine. New air, slow rise, something clear behind my eyes. No rush, no race, just a steady kind of pace. Call it morning, call it change, something slightly rearranged. But every breath I take feels new, like I'm stepping into you. We walk outside, the street's the same, but everything feels less contained. The colors shift, the shadows fall in ways I didn't see at all. You say my name, it lands so clean. No hidden tone, no in between. Just something simple, something real, a kind of truth I finally feel. And I don't try to slow it down or hold it like I used to now. It feels enough to let it move, a lighter kind of something true. The rhythm builds but stays in place, a steady pulse I don't erase. It doesn't push, it doesn't pull, but somehow still it feels so full. New air, slow rise, something clear behind my eyes. No rush, no race, just a steady kind of pace. Call it moment, call it flow, something I don't need to know. But every time I stand right here, it feels like everything is clear. The sound expands, space grows wide. No hidden parts I need to hide. No second thoughts, no shifting lines. Just something simple in design. And maybe that's what makes it stay. Not something I can lose or chase, but something living in the now that doesn't ask me when or how. You look at me, I look at you, and nothing feels like something new, but everything feels understood in ways I never thought it could. The music lifts the layers, form a brighter kind of something warm, and every note just seems to say there's nothing I need to delay. but something moving, always new. A first light that still feels like you. New air, slow rise, something clear behind my eyes. No rush, no race, just a steady kind of pace. And in this moment I can see it's not just you, it's part of me. A brighter tone I can't undo, that always leads me back to you. You opened up the window wide. The air came rushing from outside. Not cold, not warm, just something new. A different shade of what I knew. The curtains move without a sound. The light just slowly spread around, and everything began to feel a little more than just unreal. I didn't think about before, or what we might be heading toward. Just stood inside that open frame, and let it come without a name. Clear sky, wide view, everything looks slightly new. No past, no plan, just exactly where I am. Call it moment, call it air, something moving everywhere. But every time I breathe it in, it feels like something deep within. We sit and talk without a need to fill the space or plant a seed. No pressure for it to become anything more than what it's done. You say something and let it go, like you don't need me to know every layer underneath. But I can feel it when you speak, not hidden now, not held too tight. Just something resting in the light, a version of you I can see without the need for mystery. And I don't try to read too far or question everything you are. It feels enough to stay right here inside this moment that is clear. Clear sky, wide view, everything looks slightly new. No past, no plan, just exactly where I am. Call it feeling, call it truth, something simple breaking through. But every time I let it stay, it doesn't seem to fade away. The city moves, the cars pass by, but nothing pulls me from inside this quiet place we didn't make, but somehow found without a break. You look at me without a pause, no second thought, no hidden cause. And I can feel it in your gaze, a steadiness. I wanna stay, not everything needs to be deep, or something I'm supposed to keep. Sometimes it's just the way it flows that lets me feel what I don't know. And maybe that's what makes it last. Not holding on, not moving fast, but letting everything align in its own open kind of time. Clear sky, wide view, everything looks slightly new. No past, no plan, just exactly where I am. Call it rhythm, call it space, something I don't need to chase. But every time I stand with you, it feels like something always true. The sunlight shifts across the floor, the same as it has been before. But something in the way it lands feels different now inside my hands. Not something I can take apart or write down clearly from the start, but something living in the day that doesn't need to run away. So I don't try to close the frame or turn it into something named. I let it move the way it must, this open steady sense of us. And if it stays or if it goes, it doesn't change what I now know, that something in this open sky will always meet me where I lie. Clear sky, wide view, everything looks slightly new. No past, no plan, just exist inside. There used to be a sharper line between what's yours and what is mine, a clearer edge, a place to stand, a way to try and understand. But somewhere in the quiet days, it slowly started to erase. Not all at once, not in a break, but in the space we didn't take to question every little change, or hold it still, or rearrange. It softened in a way I see that made it easier to be. No edge, no wall, nothing there to make us fall. No push, no pull, just a space that feels full. Call it blending, call it flow, something we don't need to know. But every time I look at you, it feels like something simply true. We talk without a need to prove or justify the way we move. No second guess, no hidden frame, no pressure to define a name. And everything just seems to land without the need for a command. A softer rhythm in the air that doesn't ask if we should care. You say my name, it feels the same, but lighter now without the weight of wondering what it could mean, or what it hides, or what is seen. It's just a sound, a simple tone that feels like something I've outgrown. The need to question or to chase a meaning I can't fully place. No edge, no wall, nothing there to make us fall. No push, no pull, just a space that feels full. Call it stillness, call it clear, something always living here. But every time I stand with you, it feels like nothing left to do. The world keeps moving like before, the same old streets, the same old door. But something in the way I see it shifted quietly in me. Not something big, not something loud, but something softer in the crowd. A way of being in the day that doesn't need to run away. You reach for something and let go, and I don't need to ask or know why you did or what it means. It lives between the in-betweens, and maybe that's what makes it stay. Not forcing it to find a way, but letting everything align in its own quiet kind of time. No edge, no wall, nothing there to make us fall. No push, no pull, just a space that feels full. Call it balance, call it rest, something settling in my chest. But every time I breathe in, it feels like something deep within. I don't need more, I don't need less. This quiet kind of openness, a place where everything can be without dividing you and me. And if it shifts, it shifts like this. Not something gained or something missed, but something living in the flow that doesn't need to come or go. The music fades, but still it stays, a softer echo in these days. And in that space I start to see a clearer kind of clarity. Not sharp, not hard, not built to last, but something gently built to pass through every moment we can hold without needing to control. No edge, no wall, nothing there to make us fall. No push, no pull, just a space that feels full. And in this feeling I can tell there's something I know far too well, not something I can good. It moves a little out of place, but still I follow every trace. A step ahead, a step behind, a shifting line I can't define, but something in the way it flows feels more than what I used to know. You say a word, it takes its time to settle into form, a line not instant, not exactly clear, but still it somehow brings you near. And I don't rush to make it fit or push it into something strict. It feels better when it bends without needing to make sense. Drift slow, don't hold, let it move without control. No line, no frame, nothing stays exactly the same. Call it timing, call it air, something moving everywhere, but every time I let it go, it brings me back in softer flow. We walk but not in perfect sync. You stop before I even think, and I adjust without a plan to meet you where you choose to stand. No need to count or keep the beat, no pressure in the way we meet. A rhythm built from subtle shifts that doesn't need to be fixed. The music sways without a rule, not something steady, something cool, but something warmer in the tone. A moving space we've slowly grown, and maybe that's what makes it stay. Not forcing it to find a way, but letting every moment glide between the where and when inside. Drift slow, don't hold, let it move without control. No line, no frame, nothing stays exactly the same. Call it, feel it, call it true, something always pulling through, but every time it shifts again, it feels like something I can't end. You look at me, then slightly pause, not cause you need a reason, no cause, but something in the way you wait changes the shape, but just the state. And I can feel it in my chest, a softer pulse beneath the rest. Not rising up, not falling down, just moving slowly all around. The world keeps turning like before, but something's different at the core. Sense of time that's not exact, but something I don't need to track. No sharp divide, no fixed design, just something gently out of line. A drifting form I can't replace that holds me in a softer space. Drift slow, don't hold, let it move without control. No line, no frame, nothing stays exactly the same. Call it motion, call it flow, something I don't need to know, but every time I lean into it, feels like something close to you. I don't need things to land in place or follow any certain pace. It feels enough to let it be this quiet form of you and me. And if it shifts like this, not something gained or something missed, but something living in the glide that doesn't need to be defined. The music fades, but still it stays in echoes of these softer days. A rhythm I can't quite undo, that always seems to lead to you. Drift slow, don't hold, let it move without control. No line, no frame, nothing stays exactly the same. In this drifting I can tell there's something I know far too well. Not something I can fully prove, but something I can always move. With every step, with every tone, it feels a little more like home. A shifting rhythm I can't lose, that always bends me back to you. It's quieter than it used to be, inside my head, inside of me. The noise that used to fill the space has slowly found another place. Not gone, not lost, just less defined. A softer edge around my mind, and everything I couldn't hold now feels a little less controlled. I take a breath, it lands just right. No need to push, no need to fight. The weight I carry yesterday feels lighter in a subtle way. Clear mind, slow move, nothing left to overprove. No rush, no strain, just a rhythm I can maintain. Call it balance. I take feels true, like I'm finally moving through. We sit with coffee in our hands, no need to speak, no bigger plans. The silence doesn't feel too long, it fits right where it belongs. You smile without a hidden thought, not something that you carefully brought, just something natural in the flow, a kind of calm I didn't know. And I don't try to read too far or wonder what your reasons are. It feels enough to stay right here without the weight of doubt or fear. The sunlight falls across the table, a simple scene, a quiet label, not something I would write before, but something I can't ignore. Clear mind, slow move, nothing left to overprove. No rush, no strain, just a rhythm I can maintain. Call it moment, call it day, something I don't push away. But every time I sit like this, it feels like something I don't miss. The hours pass but don't feel gone, they move but somehow linger on. A steady pace I never chase, now feels like something I can taste. Not rushed ahead, not held behind, just living in a balanced line, where everything can gently be, without demanding more from me. You reach for something and you stop, not out of fear, not cause you drop, but simply cause you don't need more than what is right in front of your hands that hold and hands that rest. The quiet feeling in the chest, not rising up, not falling through, but something steady, something true. Clear mind, slow move, nothing left to overprove. No rush, no strain, just a rhythm I can maintain. Call it stillness, call it flow, something I don't need to know, but every time I breathe it in, it feels like something deep within. I don't need answers like before, or try to open every door. It feels enough to let things stay exactly as they are today. And if it shifts with ease, not something forced, not something seized, but something moving in its time, a softer version of the climb. The music fades but still it stays in quiet loops of passing days, and in that space I start to see a clearer sense of clarity. Not something loud, not something new, but something I've always been through. A quiet truth I never knew would feel this close, this simple, true. Clear mind, slow move, nothing left to overprove. No rush, no strain, just a rhythm I can maintain. And in this calm I finally see, it's not just you, it's part of me. The way I breathe, the way I stay inside the sun for its kind of day. A steady tone I can undo, that always leads me back to you. Not through a rush or sudden spark, but through a quiet, open heart. It moves without a second thought, no pause to fix, no need to stop. A steady line that never breaks, just flowing through the shape it takes. I don't decide where it should go, I don't control the undertow. It carries me without a push, a softer kind of constant rush. No edits made, no lines to change, no need to shift or rearrange. It feels complete the way it is, a quiet, effortless kind of this. Keep going, don't stop, let it move through it all. No stop, no start, just a rhythm in the heart. Call it motion, call it stream, something closer than it seems. But every time I let it be, it feels like something guiding me. We walk without a set direction, no map, no need for correction. Each step just lands where it belongs, a quiet sense that nothing's wrong. You say something I don't think, I answer back before I blink. Not rushed, not forced, not overdone, just something natural, something one. And everything begins to blur, the edges soften, lines occur, not sharp past, but don't divide. They blend together side by side. No break between them now and then. Just one long line that doesn't end. You look at me, I look at you. No hidden meaning breaking through. Just something steady in the gaze that doesn't shift or need to phase. And maybe that's what makes it real. Not what we think, but what we feel. Without the need to pull apart the way it moves inside the heart. No edits left, no parts to fix. No need to count or measure ticks. It lives in how it simply goes, without needing to be exposed. Keep going, don't stop. Let it move through it all. No stop, no start. Just a rhythm in the heart. Call it balance, call it ease. Something carried by the breeze. But every time I breathe it in, it feels like something deep within. I don't need more, I don't need less. This quiet kind of seamlessness. A place where everything aligns without the need for clearer signs. And if it shifts like this. Not something gained or something missed, but something moving through the space without a need to change its pace. The sound remains, the tone extends, a line that never truly ends. And in that flow I start to see a clearer kind of clarity. Not built from plans, not held in place, but something living in the pace. A steady path I can't undo that always seems to lead to you. Keep going, don't stop. Let it move through it all. No stop, no start. Just a rhythm in the heart. And in this flow I finally find a quieter state of mind, where everything can simply be without rewriting what I see. A moving line I can improve, that always knows just how to move. And in that motion, calm and true, it always brings me back to you. Yeah. It starts with everything in place. The sound, the step, the steady pace. A rhythm full of perfect line that feels like it was always mine. But something pulls it slowly back. A quiet shift, a subtle lack. The drums fall out, the space appears. A softer version of what's here. Not empty, not completely gone. Just something less to lean upon. A pause that lets me finally see what's underneath the energy. Full sound and space. Everything finds its place. What it's really about. Call it balance, call it flow. Something I don't need to know, but every time it pulls away, it shows me what I couldn't say. We move again, the beat returns, a fuller shape, a stronger turn, and everything begins to rise, a brighter tone behind my eyes. You say something clear and light, no hesitation, no disguise. A moment built without a strain that doesn't need to be explained, but just as quick it falls again. The sound dissolves, I understand. It's not about the staying full, but knowing when to let it pull. The silence doesn't feel like loss. It feels like something I can cross. A space that lets the rhythm breathe without demanding, I believe. Full sound and space. Everything finds its place. And then out. What it's really about. Call it motion, call it rest. Something settling in my chest. But every time it fades away, it brings me back a different way. The second drop, it's even less, just chords and tone and quiet breath. No need for more, no need to fill the space that feels so calm and still. And in that place I start to feel a deeper kind of something real. Not built on sound, not built on beat, but something moving underneath. You look at me, I look at you. No need to say what we both knew, that everything that comes and goes still leaves a trace that softly flows. The rhythm builds again from there. A fuller sound fills up the air, but now it feels a little new, a different shade of something true. Full sound and space, everything finds its place. What it's really about. Call it cycle, call it wave, something that we don't need to say. But every time it comes around, it lifts me just above the ground. I don't need everything to stay or hold it tightly in one way. It feels enough to let it be, a moving kind of clarity. And maybe that's the clearest part, not filling up a crowded heart, but letting everything align between the full and in between line. The music fades but not to none. A softer echo carries on, and in that space I start to see a clearer sense of what could be. Not always full, not always bare, but something balanced in the air. A rhythm I can't quite undo, that always brings me back to you. Full sound and space, everything finds its place. And then what it's really about. And in this cycle I can tell, there's something I know far too well. Not something I can fully prove, but something I can always move. Between the full and empty tone, that somehow always feels like home. The steady pull I can't undo, that always leads me back to you. You start a line, I follow through, not copying, just something new. A different tone, a different way, but still it meets you where you stay. Two voices moving side by side, not trying hard to coincide, but somehow in the shifting space they find a common kind of place. You say it's soft, I answer light, not always matching left to right, but every turn we take within feels like it always meets again. Two lines, one scene, somewhere in the in-between. Not the same, not apart, just connected from the start. Call it rhythm, call it sound, something layered all around. But every time we overlap, it feels like closing up a gap. We walk, you lead, I fall behind, and somehow switch without a sign. A quiet trait of how we move, a balance neither has to prove. You hum a tone, I change the key, not wrong, just slightly differently. And in that shift I start to feel a deeper kind of something real. It's not about the perfect fit or making every moment click, but how we let the changes flow without needing to fully know. The pattern builds then splits again, two separate paths that still extend into a place that feels aligned without confining either line. Two lines, one scene, somewhere in the in-between. Not the same, not apart, just connected from it's not just you, it's part of me. The way we echo different ways still finds a place where both can stay. You say my name, I say you do, but not the same as you would do. A mirrored form, a shifted line that still feels somehow intertwined. Not losing what we used to be, but finding space for both to see a version where we don't erase the things that make us separate. Two lines, one scene, somewhere in the in-between. Not the same, not apart, just connected from the start. Call it instinct, call it art, something written in the heart. But every time we come back through, it feels like something always true. The music builds, the layers rise to melodies now unified, not merged into a single sound, but something richer all around. A harmony that doesn't hide the differences we hold inside, but lets them breathe and lets them stay in their own quiet, open way. And maybe that's what makes it last. Not blending everything too fast, but letting both exist as one, without undoing what's been done. Two lines, one scene, somewhere in the in-between. Not the same, not apart, just connected from the start. And in this space I start to see a clearer kind of clarity. Not losing you, not losing me, but finding shared identity. A rhythm I can't quite undo that always seems to lead to you. Two lines that never fully end, but always find their way again. Yeah. It starts with just a single sound, a steady kick against the ground. Nothing more, nothing to prove, just a quiet start to something new. Then slowly something else comes in, a softer hit beneath the skin, a clap that lands a little late, but somehow fits the moving shape. I feel it build beneath my feet, a growing sense of something deep. Not loud, not fast, not hard to find, but something forming in my mind. Tap once, then twice, let it fall, don't think it twice. No plan, just move, follow what the rhythm proves. Call it timing, call it flow, something I don't need to know, but every time I feel it rise, it pulls me deeper from inside. The pattern shifts, a hat comes through, a lighter sound, a different hue, a subtle change, a tiny break that makes the whole thing rearrange. I don't need melody right now, the rhythm says enough somehow. It carries more than what I say in every quiet, simple way. You look at me, you start to move, not matching me, but in your groove. A different step, a different line, but still it fits inside the time. And every layer that it gains doesn't erase what still remains. It builds upon the space before until it feels like something more. Tap once, then twice, let it fall, don't think it twice. No plan, just move, follow what the rhythm proves. Call it motion, call it play, something building day by day, but every time a layer drops, it makes me feel it never stops. The beat pulls back, just drums remain, no chords, no lines, no hidden framing. In that space, I start to feel a rawer kind of something real. No melody to guide the way, just pulse and breath, and where they stay, a stripped down version of the sound that keeps me rooted to the ground. And slowly it begins again, a hat, a feel, a moving trend, a sharper edge, a stronger push, but still it keeps that steady hush. You move with me, or maybe not, it doesn't matter what we've got. The rhythm lives beyond the two, it finds its way in me and you. Tap once, then twice, let it fall, don't think it twice. No plan, just move, follow what the rhythm proves. Call it instinct, call it beat, something living in my feet, but every time it feels this way, it feels like something here to stay. The final lift, the fullest sound, every layer coming round, a kick, a clap, a shifting line, all falling perfectly in time, but not too perfect, not too clean, still something living in between. last. Not holding on too tight or fast, but letting every piece align in its own slightly imperfect time. The music fades, but not the feel. The rhythm stays, it still feels real. And even when the sound is gone, I feel it quietly go on. Tap once, then twice, let it fall, don't think it twice. No plan, just move, follow what the rhythm proves. And in this rhythm I can tell there's something I know far too well. Not something I can fully prove, but something I can always move. With every step, with every tone, it feels a little more like home. A beat I can't quite undo, that always brings me back to you. It doesn't feel like something new, but not the same as what we knew. A kind of loop that came around without repeating what we found. The steps we took, the roads we crossed, the things we held, the things we lost. They don't return the way they were, but leave behind a softer blur. And in that space I start to see a clearer kind of clarity. Not built from start or from the end, to something that just learned to bend. Full turn, same line, everything comes back in time. Not the same, not before, but it feels like something more. Call it circle, call it phase, something built from passing days. But every time it comes around, it feels more steady, more profound. We sit in silence not too long, the quiet doesn't feel too strong. It fits right where it's meant to stay, a softer part of what we say. You look at me without a doubt, no hidden meaning breaking out. Just something clear within the gaze that doesn't need to rearrange. And I don't try to hold it tight or measure it in wrong or right. It feels enough to let it be, a natural kind of symmetry. The rhythm plays familiar tone, but something in it feels more grown. A little fuller, little wide, a steadier place to stand inside. Full turn, same line, everything comes back in time. Not the same, not before, but it feels like something more. Call it memory, call it now, something I don't question how. But every time I stand with you, it feels like something always true. The moments that we couldn't keep still live somewhere beneath the deep. Not as they were, but as they shape the way we move, the way we stay. No need to trace each step again, or count the loss or count the gain. It's all inside the way we move, a quiet kind of something true. You say my name, it feels complete, no hesitation in the beat. No second layer, no disguise, just something clear behind your eyes. And maybe that's what makes it last, not holding on to what is past, but letting every version be a part of what we came to see. Full turn, same line, everything comes back in time. Not the same, not before, but it feels like something more. Call it ending, call it start, something living in the heart. But every time it fades away, it leaves a reason here to stay. The music flows, the layers fall, something lingers through it all. A softer echo, common truth that always seems to lead to you. And even when the sound is gone, I feel it quietly go on. A steady tone I can't undo, that always feels like me and you. So I don't try to stop the flow or force it into what I know. I let it move the way it must. This full circle sense of us, full turn, same line. Everything comes back in time. Not the same, not before, but it feels like just you, it's part of me. The way it builds, the way it stays across the quiet of these days. A rhythm I can't quite undo, that always brings me back to you. Not as before, not something new, but something that is simply true. It started with a quiet seat, a folded card, a wooden chair. The kind of day you don't expect to stay with you the way it does. People laughing, voices soft, a sunlight falling through the glass, and something in the way it felt made every second seem to last. They set a date from long ago, before I ever knew their names, and suddenly the doors open, but not the way it always plays. Two figures walking down the line, not nervous, not afraid to smile. A different kind of entrance now, they carried more than just a style. It wasn't loud, it wasn't staged, but something deeper filled the room. A kind of warmth you couldn't fake, a quiet, blooming kind of truth. And when they walked in side by side, it didn't feel like something new. It felt like something that had grown long before it came to view. We clapped along, but something changed. A softer feeling settled in, not just a moment we could watch, but something we could feel within. And maybe love is more like that, not fireworks or sudden light, but something built in smaller ways that slowly turns the dark to bright. The music played, the voices arose, a song that didn't need to prove that everything was already there, in how they stood and how they moved. And when it ended, no one rushed, the air just stayed a little longer, like everyone was holding on to something quiet, something stronger. Then later on, the room transformed from still to something full of life. The laughter louder than before, no roles, no lines, no need for right. They sang their songs, they joked around, a kind of freedom filled the space. No pressure to perform a script, just being in the moment's place. A number called, a cheer went up, a table laughing in surprise. And somewhere in between it all, you saw it living in their eyes. 2 hours passed without a thought, the time just moved without a trace. And even food felt different there, like comfort had a taste. A warmth that stayed beneath the skin, not something loud, not something fast, but something you could carry home long after all the noise had passed. And walking out into the street, the city felt a little new. The same old roads, the same old lights, but somehow softer in their hue. A quiet thought began to form about the places that we keep, the ones we go back to again, the ones that feel a little deep. A cafe on a narrow street where space is small but meaning grows. A cup that feels familiar now, a taste that only you would know. Not just a drink, not just a stop, but something steady in your day. A place that meets you where you are without asking you to stay. And maybe that's the way it goes with people, places, all we choose. We build a rhythm over time and all the things we don't refuse. A morning cup, a quiet nod, a street you walk without a plan, a moment that becomes a thread you didn't know you'd understand. And as the day keeps moving on, from vows to roads to something new, you start to see it everywhere, the things that quietly shape you. Not always big, not always loud, but something constant, something true. A life that builds in smaller ways, and everything you come back to. So maybe love is not a peak or something only seen once through, but something living in the flow of all the things that stay with you. A wedding day, a cup of coffee, a street you didn't mean to find, a quiet sense of something real that slowly settles in your mind. doesn't start, it doesn't end. It slowly moves, it slowly bends, like something drifting through the air that's always been but never there. No clear moment I can trace, no single point, no sudden place. Just something growing in between the things we say, the things we mean. We don't decide, we don't define, we let it form without a line. And every second feels like it was always meant to slowly fit. Fade in, fade through, everything becomes you. No start, no sign, just a quiet kind of time. Call it nothing, call it real, something I don't need to feel. But every time I let it be, it comes back closer into me. We sit in silence not too long, not needing words to make it strong. The space between us feels enough, a softer kind of something us. And I don't try to hold it tight or turn it into wrong or right. It feels better when it flows without needing to be known. The city lights begin to blur, the passing sounds grow softer, sure, and everything just fades a bit, but somehow still it all just fits. You look at me, then look away, like something almost meant to say, but not quite there, not fully through. Still I can feel it coming from you. Fade in, fade through, everything becomes you. No start, no sign, just a quiet kind of time. Call it distance, call it near, something always living here. But every time I close my eyes, it stays without a need to rise. I used to think I had to know exactly where this all would go, but now I see it differently. Not something fixed, but something free. It doesn't need a shape or frame, but something I can call by name. It lives inside the way we stay in every quiet passing day. Maybe that's what makes it last, not holding on, not moving fast, but letting everything align in its own soft unspoken time. Fade in, fade through, everything becomes you. No start, no sign, just a quiet kind of time. Call it instinct, call it flow, something I don't need to show. But every time I let it fade, it finds a way to gently stay. The music slows, the rhythm drops, the space expands, the movement stops, but something lingers in the air, a quiet trace that's always there. Not loud enough to take control, not strong enough to fill the hole, but something steady, something true that slowly fades me into you. So I don't try to make it last or hold it tighter than the past. I let it move the way it must, this fading, forming sense of us. And if it ends like this, not with a break, not with a miss, but something soft that disappears while still remaining somewhere near. Fade in, fade through, everything becomes you. No start, no sign, just a quiet kind of time. And in this ending I can see it never really leaves me be. A quiet feeling always there, that fades but never disappears. We stepped outside into the day, the city buzzing, wide awake, a different kind of energy than what we felt just yesterday. No plans ahead, just walking lines through streets we've seen 1,000 times, but somehow everything felt new, like something shifted in the view. The light was softer on the glass, reflections moving as we passed, and every step began to feel like time was something we could steal. No rush, no clock, let the moment talk. No need to run, we're already in the sun. It's in the way the air moves slow in places only we would know. Not loud, not bright, but everything feels right. We kept on walking, didn't speak, but silence didn't feel too deep. It felt like something we could hold, a kind to come that wasn't told. A passing car, a distant sound, a stranger laughing in the crowd, and somehow all of it aligned into a rhythm in my mind. I didn't need to ask you why or try to read between your eyes. It felt enough to simply be right here inside this city breeze. The road turned once, then turned again. We didn't know just where it ends, but every turn just made it clear there's nothing else I need from here. No rush, no clock, let the moment talk. No need to run, we're already in the sun. It's in the way the streets unfold and stories never fully told. Not loud, not bright, but everything feels right. We passed the place you used to go. You pointed once, then let it go. A quiet smile, a small detail that didn't need a longer trail. And I realized in that second, it's not the places that we're in, but how they slowly shape themselves around the state we're living in. The city doesn't have to change, the roads don't need a different name. It's just the way we move inside that makes it feel a different way. We stop beneath the shaded line where sunlight barely crossed the sign, and everything just paused a bit, like time adjusted just to fit. No rush, no clock, let the moment talk. No need to run, we're already in the sun. It's in the way we don't explain, the ease that flows without a name. Not loud, not bright, but everything feels right. The day keeps moving, people pass, the hours drift like fading glass, but something here won't disappear. A quiet sense of being here, not something I can take or keep, not something buried way too deep. Just something simple, something true that only shows when I'm with you. And when we finally turned around to head back through the same old town, I knew it wouldn't feel the same as how it did before we came. Cause now it holds a different tone, a space that somehow feels our own. Not marked or claimed, but still it stays in quiet, unassuming ways. No rush, no clock, let the moment talk. No need to run, we're already in the sun. It's in the way the light remains in all the small and passing frames. Not loud, not bright, but everything feels right. There's something in the way the glass reflects a life I didn't plan. A moving frame, a passing shot that looks like me but feels like mine. I stand between the light and shape, the quiet version I can't name. Not lost, not found, just somewhere still, a space that bends against my will. I didn't think I'd stop this long to look at things and move along, but something in the slowing pace made every second hold its place. A camera in my head rewinds the moments I don't always find, until they pass and reappear in softer tones and something clear. Slow frame, still view, everything feels slightly new. Not sharp, not bright, just softened in the light. It's in the way the shadows fall across the walls, across it all. A quiet shift, a subtle bend that doesn't need a start or end. I walk inside a different pace, where time doesn't need to race, and every step begins to feel like something I can finally seal. Not capture, not control or keep, but something I can sit beneath and let it move the way it goes without needing to fully know. The ceiling lights, the polished floor, the echo of an open door. All of it begins to form a quiet kind of living form. I used to think I had to move to find the thing that I could prove, but now I see it in the still, the space that never had a fill. And maybe that's what's always there, not in the rush but in the air, fades out. A moment forms without a doubt. Not cause it's loud, not cause it stays, but cause it moves in quiet ways. And I don't try to hold it tight or turn it into something right. I let it shift, I let it bend. The form I don't need to defend. There's something in the way we see what isn't there but used to be. A layered sense of past and now that never asked us to know how. I pass a mirror, glance away, then look again, but not the same. The face I see is slightly changed, not different, just rearranged. A softer look, a slower breath, a quiet distance from the rest. Not pulled by what I used to chase, but held inside a calmer space. And maybe that's what growing means. Not reaching out for bigger scenes, but learning how to stand within the quiet of what's always been. The glass reflects but doesn't hold. It shows a version uncontrolled, a moving form, a passing trace that I don't need to fully chase. Slow frame, still view. Everything feels slightly new. Not sharp, not bright, just softened in the light. The day moves on, the people change, the sounds begin to rearrange, and I'm still standing in between the things I feel, the things I've seen. Not needing more, not needing less, just letting everything progress in ways that don't demand a name or ask me how to play the game. And in that space I start to feel a different kind of something real, not built on plans or what I knew, but something forming in the view. A quiet sense of being here without the need to disappear or prove that I am something more than what I've always been before. The glass becomes a softer line between what's yours and what is mine. Not dividing, just reflecting all the ways we're intersecting. And maybe that's the clearest sign. Not everything needs to align to feel like something I can trust. A simple shifting sense of just. So I don't try to break the frame or turn it into something named. I let it move the way it does. This quiet passing sense of us. And if this moment fades away, it doesn't mean it couldn't stay. It lives inside a softer place, a slow down, almost hidden space. Slow frame, still view. Everything comes back to you. Not loud, not bright, but steady in the light. And when I step back out again into the rush, into the same, I carry something I can't see, but know is now a part of me. It starts with something really small, a passing word, a casual call. You say it like it doesn't mean anything more than what it seems. A little laugh, a sideways glance, a moment lost in circumstance, but somehow it begins to grow in ways I didn't plan to know. You talk about the things you like, the songs you play, the late night drives, and I just listen half aware that something's changing in the air. Not sudden, not a major shift, just something like a subtle drift. Like conversation slowly turn into something I can burn. Say it slow, say it light, keep it somewhere out of sight. Nothing big, nothing loud, but it's moving through the crowd. It's in the way. You don't explain the quiet spaces in between. Not what you say, but how it lands, like something I can understand. We keep it simple, keep it cool, like we don't follow any rules. No need to say it out too clear, it's better when it stays right here. A kind of rhythm in the talk and how we stop and how we walk. A pattern built in little ways that slowly fills up all my days. You text me something random late, not even trying to sound great, but I can feel it in the tone, a kind of space we slowly grown. And I don't need to ask you why or read too deep between the lines. It's easier to let it be, this quiet form of you and me. say it slow, say it light, keep it somewhere out of sight. Nothing big, nothing loud, but it's moving through the crowd. It's in the way we don't define what this is or where the line should be drawn or held in place. We just let it find this pace, and maybe that's what makes us stay. Not forcing it to find a way, but letting every moment lead without deciding what we need. We sit across the table now. You say my name without a doubt, but then something in the way it sounds feels different than the other sounds. Not louder, just a little clearer, a little closer than before. And I can feel it in my chest, a quiet knocking at the door, but we don't open it too wide. We let it sit, we let it slide between the lines, between the words and things that almost could be heard. And I don't wanna break the flow by turning it to something known. It's better when it feels like this. I kinda have to find abyss. Say it slow, say it light, keep it somewhere out of sight. Nothing big, nothing loud, but it's moving through the crowd. It's in the way you look away, then turn back like you wanna say something more, but let it go. And somehow I still seem to know that every little thing you do is building something I can't undo. Not fast, not sharp, not in a rush, but in a quiet, steady touch. And maybe that's the clearest part, not what we say but where we start. A rhythm made of small details that never breaks, that never fails. So I don't try to name it now or figure out the when or how. I let it move the way it does, a soft unfinished sense of us. And if it stays or fades away, it doesn't change what's here today. A moment living in the air that somehow feels like something rare. Say it slow, say it light, keep it somewhere out of sight. Nothing big, nothing loud, but it's moving through the crowd. And in this rhythm we don't claim, I think I'm starting to feel the same. Not in a way that needs to show, but in a way I simply know. It plays again inside my head, a little line you never said. Not something loud, not something clear, but somehow I still hear it here. A quiet loop I can't explain, it comes and goes without a name. Not strong enough to pull me in, but never quite enough to dim. You said it once, then let it go, like it was nothing I should know. But something in the way it stayed turned into something that replayed again and again. It comes around, not in a voice, more like a sound. A rhythm built from something small that somehow grows without a call. Low tone, repeat, every step, every beat. Soft line, don't show, but I feel it when you go. Go, 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 go. Call it nothing, call it air, something barely even there. But every time I close my eyes, it loops again. I realize we walk the same familiar street, our footsteps falling out of sync. You say a word, I hear it twice, once as it is, once as it might. And I don't try to stop the flow, I ask it what it wants to show. It feels better when it stays half inside these passing days. There's something in the way you pause before you speak, before you stop, like you're deciding what to keep and what to let just slowly drop. And I catch pieces in between the things you say, the things you mean, a scattered set of broken clues that somehow always lead to you. Low tone, repeat, every step, every beat. Soft line, don't show, but I feel it when you go. Go, 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 go. Trace, something I can quite erase. But every time it circles back, it fits a slightly different track. I try to focus on the now, the way the sunlight hits your hair, the way you move without a sound, like nothing's really holding there. But still it finds a way to slip between the space, between the grip of of everything I try to keep inside, a place that runs too deep. You laugh and say it's nothing much, a passing thought, a casual touch, but I can feel it in the tone. A kind of weight that's never shown, and maybe that's what makes it stay. Not what you give, but what you don't. A hidden rhythm in the gaps that somehow always overlaps. Low tone, repeat, every step, every beat. Soft line, don't show, but I feel it when you go. Call it instinct, call it mine. Something left just undefined, but every time I try to move, it loops me back into your groove. We stop, we talk, then drift apart, but something lingers in the start of every word we almost say, then quietly just let decay. And I don't know if that's enough to call it something more than us, but I can feel it in the space, a repetition I can't replace. Not loud, not clear, not fully real, but something I can always feel. A quiet loop that doesn't end, that bends but never seems to bend. So I don't try to cut the line or turn it into something mine. I let it move the way it does, this soft repeating sense of us. And if it fades or if it stays, it doesn't change these passing days, 'cause every time it comes around, it feels a little more like now. Low tone, repeat, every step, every beat. Soft line, don't show, but I feel it when you go. And in this loop I start to see, it's not just you, it's part of me. A rhythm I can't quite control, but something that completes the whole. It plays again inside my head, not something new, not something said, but something living in the space that time and silence can't erase. It started right after the rain. The streets were shining all the same. A different kind of quiet now, like something finally settling down. The air was cooler than before. Reflections slipping on the floor. And every step I took that day felt softer in a subtle way. I didn't think of anything, no future plans, no wondering. Just walking through the afterglow of something I don't need to know. Then out of nowhere, like a sign, a message lit up right on time. Not long, not deep, not even much. Something in the way it touched. Light pulse, soft tone, something I can feel alone. No rush, no speed, just exactly what I need. Call it timing, call it chance, a moment slipping into hands, but every word you chose to send felt like it didn't need to end. I kept on walking, didn't stop. The rhythm matched my every step, a quiet bounce beneath my feet, like something moving incomplete. You said you didn't mean to text, just something random, nothing next, but I could feel it in between. The kind of space I've never seen, not heavy, not too hard to hold, not something I could fully mold, just something floating in the air, like we both knew but didn't share. Maybe that's what makes us stay, not what we say, but what we delay. A softer signal passing through, and everything I feel from you. Light pulse, soft tone, something I can feel alone. No rush, no speed, just exactly what I need. Call it distance, call it near, something shifting while we're here, but every time it comes around, it feels like something newly found. The city starts to move again, the cars, the noise, the passing trends, but something in me stays the same. A quiet rhythm without a name. I check my phone, but nothing new. Still I can feel it coming through, not in the words, not in the text, but in the space of what comes next. A second passes, then a third, so nothing more. Still not a word, but somehow it's already there. A sense of something in the air. You didn't need to say it twice or make it be clear or give advice in the way you let it go that makes me feel like I should know. Light pulse, the soft tone, something I can feel alone. No rush, no speed, just exactly what I need. Call it rhythm, call it flow, something we don't need to show. But every time I close my eyes, it lingers there without disguise. The sky begins to slowly clear, the clouds dissolve, the light appears, and in a shift I start to see a softer side of what could be. Not loud enough to take control, not strong enough to fill the hole, but something steady, something true, that quiet looking next to you. And maybe that's what I remember, not the storm or not the weather, what it left behind. Instead, a quiet signal in my head, so I don't try to hold it tight or turn it into wrong or right. I let it move the way it flows, a soft connection no one knows. And if it fades or if it stays, it doesn't change these passing days. 'Cause every time it comes around, it lifts me just a little off the ground. Light pulse, soft tone, something I can't feel alone. No rush, no speed, just exactly what I need. And in this moment I can tell there's something here, know too well. Not something loud or meant to show, but something only I would know. We don't move the way they do, not on time, not straight through. Every step a little late, or just ahead, I can't relate. You laugh before I get the line, I speak when you've already gone quiet. Somewhere in that offset space, we find our own kind of pace. It doesn't line up perfectly, but somehow it still works for me. Not clean, not smooth, not easy too, but something honest in the groove. Offbeat, slow shift, something we don't need to fix. Out of sync, still right, somehow we just fit inside. Call it timing, call it wrong, but we keep moving all along. And every time we miss the cue, we land a little closer to. We walk across the crowded street, you stop, I move, and we repeat. A rhythm no one else can see, but something that belongs to me. You say my name, but not on cue, a second late, but somehow true. And in that space it starts to feel a different kind of something real. I used to think I had to match every move, every step, every catch, but now I see it differently. It doesn't need symmetry, it's in the way we hesitate, the way we don't anticipate, the moments slipping in between, that never try to stay too clean. Offbeat, slow shift, something we don't need to fix. Out of sync, still right, somehow we just fit inside. Call it distance, call it flow, something only we would know. And every time we lose the line, we find another way to align. The music plays, but we don't follow the same exact beat they all borrow. We lean a little left and right, a different kind of moving light. And maybe that's what makes it stay, not forcing it to find a way, but letting every moment breathe without the need to interleave. You look at me, then look away, like something almost meant to say, but not quite there, not fully through. And still I feel it coming from you. It's not the words, it's not the plan, it's in the way we understand. Without explaining what we mean, we sit inside the in-between. Offbeat, slow shift, something we don't need to fix. Out of sync, still right, somehow we just fit inside. Call it rhythm, call it space, call it something we don't chase. But every time we fall behind, we meet again in different time. I miss your step, you miss my tone, but somehow it still feels like home. Not 'cause it's perfect or precise, because it doesn't need advice. We build a pattern from the gaps, from every time we overlap, and every miss becomes a part of something forming in the heart. So I don't try to move ahead or fall exactly where it's set. I let it drift the way it does, this offbeat version of us. And if it stumbles, if it bends, it doesn't mean it has to end. 'Cause every time it feels unsure, it somehow feels a little more offbeat. Slow shift, something we don't need to fix. Out of sync, still right, somehow we just fit inside. And in this rhythm we don't name, I think we're starting to feel the same. Not in a way that's clean or clear, but in a way that keeps us here. It's in the way I almost fall, but never really lose it all. Like something holding me just right between the ground and open sky. I take a step, I feel it shift, the kind of weight I never lift. But somehow it's not pulling down, it's something softer all around. You say my name, it lands so light, like it doesn't need to fight for space or meaning in the air. It just exists and settles there, and I don't question what it is or try to turn it into this or that or something I can hold. It feels better uncontrolled. Float, don't drop, let it rise but never stop. No wait, no rush, just a quiet kind of us. Call it balance, call it air, something moving everywhere. But every time I lean into, I feel it pulling me to you. We walk but barely touch the ground, a softer version of the sound of footsteps that we used to make before we learned to hesitate. And everything just feels so clear, but not in ways I used to hear. It's not a voice, it's not a sign, it's something resting in the line between what is and what could be. A space that doesn't need to see or prove or show or understand. It just exists without a plan, and maybe that's what makes it stay. Not forcing it to find a way, but letting every moment drift without needing a meaning to fit. Float, don't drop, let it rise but never stop. No wait, no rush, just a quiet kind of us. Call it motion, call it flow, something we don't need to know. But every time I close my eyes, I feel it lifting from inside. You laugh at something in my chest, slightly different than the rest. Not sharp, not loud, not hard to trace, but something shifting into place. And I don't try to hold it still or test it with a stronger will. It feels enough to let it be this lightweight form of you and me. We pass the places we both know, but something makes them feel less known. Like everything we've seen before is something slightly less than more. And in that space I start to feel a different kind of something real. Not heavy, not too hard to keep, but something moving underneath. Float, don't drop, let it rise but never stop. No wait, no rush, just a quiet kind of us. Call it gravity, call it air, something always pulling there. But every time I drift too far, you're where I naturally just start. The sky begins to fade to blue, the light reflects a softer hue, and everything just seems to slow, but never really lose the flow. And maybe that's the clearest sign, not needing everything to align, but finding something in between that never needs to be seen. So I don't try to bring it down or turn it into something loud. I let it move the way it must, this floating weightless sense of us. And if it fades or if it stays, it doesn't change these passing days. 'Cause every time I feel it near, it lifts me just a little here. Float, don't drop, let it rise but never stop. No wait, no rush, just a quiet kind of us. with every breath. It stays a little past the rest. The lightweight pull I can't undo that always brings me back to you. It's just one line you said that day, but somehow it won't go away. Not even something that profound, but still it keeps looping around. You didn't mean to leave it there, just dropped it lightly in the air. But something in the way it stayed turned into something that replayed again, again, again. It goes a quiet rhythm no one knows, not loud enough to take control, but steady running through my soul. Same line, same sound, keep circling around. No change, no break, still more than I can take. Call it simple, call it small, but somehow it outlasts it all. And every time I let it fade, it finds its way back to the same. We walk and talk like nothing's wrong, like everything just moves along. But underneath the casual tone, a single line has somehow grown. You smile, you say another thing, a different word, a different ring, but I don't hear it quite the same. I'm still inside that one refrain, and I don't try to ask you why. You'll turn it into something high. It feels enough to let it stay, a loop that never goes away. Same line, same sound, keep circling around. No change, no break, still more than I can take. Call it memory, call it trace, something I can't quite replace. But every time it comes back through, it sounds a little more like you. The day moves on, the hours shift, the moments fade, the scenes all drift, but still it plays without a pause, a quiet loop without a cause. And maybe that's what makes it real, not something loud I need to feel, but something steady, something low that never asks me to know. You didn't try to make it stay, you didn't plan it out that way, but somehow in the space you left it built a rhythm in my chest. And now it's part of everything, the way I walk, the way I think, a subtle echo in the line that plays again inside my mind. Same line, same sound, keep circling around. No change, no break, still more than I can take. Call it pattern, call it flow, something only I would know. But every time it starts again, it feels like more than it has been. I try to break it, shift the tone, replace the words, rewrite the flow, but nothing seems to land the same. It always comes back to your phrase, not cause it's perfect or precise, not cause it fits some kind of advice, because it lives in how you said. A rhythm stuck inside my head, and I don't mind it staying now. I don't need to figure how it fits or where it's meant to go. It feels enough to simply know. Same line, same sound, keep circling around. No change, no break, still more than I can take. And in this loop I start to see